So thank you.
What time is the thing on Friday? 2 o'clock?
It was really sad how we tried to block out the date. Did you see that, Susan? You can see like how it was blocked out.
Oh,
The Wednesday date, we just kind of covered it over, but it wasn't perfect. What's that, David?
2 o'clock on Friday,
Oh
okay.
yeah, Friday is 2 o'clock.
Yeah, Sylvia was hawking me about something, and
oh, 2 o'clock, okay.
hello? You got it.
You gotta pay?
What?
The village is paying for it.
I don't know, I'm sorry, cannot do it, fiscally irresponsible, I won't do it.
I'm not gonna pay for it.
I know, but I don't think they should either.
What's that?
I mean,
If you would
yes,
please
you
stand
should
and
have.
join me for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Are we paying for it?
It's 8:40, or 7:40, I should say, on Tuesday night, the 27th. I'm pinch hitting for Mayor Jason Klein, and I think I was asked because I have the most gray hair in the room. I can come up with no other reason. We have a full board except for Jason. I won't even comment on where he is. Let's just say we're all envious. And we can go right away to the resolutions. Resolution number 1, considering an intermunicipal agreement between the Village of Rye Brook and Blind Brook School District for the use of property and equipment.
Okay, whereas the Village of Rye Brook and the Blind Brook School District have ownership over several different facilities, fields, and equipment, and whereas under the terms of the proposed master agreement, the Village of Rye Brook and Blind Brook School District would have the ability to more efficiently share their facilities, fields, and equipment on an as-needed basis by either party from the date of execution for 5 years, and whereas the Village of Rye Brook seeks to enter into the IMA that's proposed, now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby approves the proposed master agreement, subject to modifications by council with the Blind Brook School District, which will allow for more efficient sharing of the use of facilities, fields, and equipment for the date of execution for a period of 5 years forward.
Can I get a motion and a second?
So moved. Second.
Any comments from our vast audience? Comments from the board?
So, you want me to give a little summary of what this is doing?
By
So,
all means.
so this we're very pleased to enter this to recommend this agreement to the village board and the school board. I've been working with Colin Byrne on this agreement as well as council, and we're looking to do a similar agreement with the Portchester School District. And what this is a very similar to agreement that we have with other municipalities, including Rye City, the town of Rye, Tuckahoe, in Bronxville, Scarsdale. We have a lot of different this agreement in place, and what it does, it puts a master agreement in place, and when there's a need for whether it be fields, equipment, facilities, it allows the superintendent and the village administrator to basically make the request. If there's any funds that can be designated as well, anything like an operator is needed or reimbursements needed, and everything gets put into place, and it's simply a one-page back and forth so that we can get the need for the equipment, the field, anything else done on a very expedited basis. So it's a way to really help each other when there's a need, but also make sure there's the appropriate insurance in place and a master agreement in place to make sure everything's covered.
Once again, I ask, do any of the board members have any comments on this?
Nope.
Greg?
Trustee Epstein?
Is this a time where I can ask, they're asking us to pay for something this time that we have not paid in the past?
Not for this particular agreement.
Okay, fine.
But if there is a need in the future, what this is doing is laying the groundwork for a future request. So let's just say they had a need for a front end loader, and we were sending that over there. If it was, say, they need it on a Saturday, well, that's something that I would put on the form that says front end loader, but needs to be we need to have the operator because it's our, they know how to use the equipment, and we'll provide it, and here's what the cost would be for that. So
Got it.
that wouldn't have to go back to the board when it's more when you need something shorter term.
Got it.
But if it's like a longer term agreement where you have something like the after school program, that you see is still covered by a separate document because there's different parameters that are within that type of long-term agreement.
All right, thank you for clarifying.
I'm going to start that again. So, Trustee Epstein?
Yes.
Okay. Trustee Fisher?
Yes.
Trustee Morlino?
Yes.
And Deputy Mayor Heiser?
Throwing everybody off by that.
Yes.
Don't do that. Resolution number 2, considering an intermunicipal agreement between the Village of Rye Brook and the Blind Brook School District for the Village of Rye Brook after-school program.
Whereas the Village of Rye Brook runs a school-age childcare program, or SACC program, after the school during the duration of the school year for elementary school children, and whereas the Blind Brook School District has offered the premise of the Bruno Pontario Rid Street School to the Village of Rye Brook to conduct this after-school program, and whereas both the Village of Rye Brook and the Blind Brook School District seek to enter into an agreement for the use of the Rid Street School, and whereas under the terms of the proposed IMA, the Village of Rye Brook may run the after-school program each day of school operations from basically 3:10 to 6:30, except for other special days when it's from 11:30 to 6:30, and from September 5th, 2003 through June 26, 2024, and the Village of Rye Brook agrees to reimburse the Blind Brook School District for 1/3 of the cost of one security monitor during the duration of the after-school program. Now therefore be resolved that the Village of Rye Brook Board of Trustees hereby approves the IMA with the Blind Brook School District, subject to modification by council, for the use of the Rid Street School for the Village of Rye Brook school-age child care after-school program, and be it further resolved, the mayor and administrator are authorized to execute and deliver all documents necessary or appropriate to accomplish the purpose of this resolution.
Can I get a motion and a second?
So moved. Second.
Chris? You want to
So this is a licensed school-age, a registered school-age childcare program that the village runs at the Rid Street Elementary School. We've been running this program for many, many years. It's really, except for during the COVID time, and it's a really fantastic program. It provides the opportunity for basically the parents of the kids at the school to be able to make sure the kids are able to go right from the classroom during the school day to another program, which is our after-school program, which is primarily two different main areas of functions. So first, it includes homework help, school assistance, and then it also has a recreational component to get the kids moving. They do recreation programs, whether it be indoor or outdoor, depending on the weather. So it's really a really nice program. The school provides the facility for us to do that, and the village provides the programs. And because it's a multidisciplined approach, both the homework help and the recreation, that's what triggers the requirement to be a registered school-age child care program versus just a recreation program. We're one of only 2 municipalities that I'm aware of in the county that offers or has that type of program, and we're very proud of it. The one additional cost that we incurred this past year, and we want to make sure it's in the agreement, is that they, because of security concerns, they do need to have a school monitor present. So that, and we do need that monitor because when parents come to pick up and we have to walk to the front, we walk the kids to the front, we need to make sure that there's somebody there. So we pay under the agreement, and what they charged last year is under the current school year, basically there's a split 3 ways of the cost. So the school pays 1/3. This is only for the after school hours. The school pays 1/3, the PTA pays 1/3, and we pay 1/3.
Okay.
Where does the security monitor come from?
The school hires.
School hires, okay. Any comments? Board?
The one that's at the front of the building.
Board have any comments?
No, that was very helpful. Thank you.
Greg, try to get it right this time.
I have to do it that way. Sorry. Trustee Epstein?
Yes.
Trustee Fisher?
Yes.
Trustee Morlino?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Heiser?
Yes.
That's the standard.
You're funny tonight.
Resolution number 3. Considering renewing an agreement between the Village of Rye Brook and Millennium Strategies to provide grant consulting services.
Whereas the Village of Rye Brook Board of Trustees approved an agreement with Millennium Strategies on May 10th, 2022 for grant writing consulting services, and whereas the current agreement expired on May 31st, 2023, and whereas on May 12th of this year, Millennium Strategies made a proposal to renew the agreement to continue to provide grant consulting services, and whereas the Village of Rye Brook seeks to renew an agreement with Millennium Strategies, now therefore be resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby authorizes the Village of Rye Brook to sign an agreement with Millennium Strategies subject to any modifications made by council, in the amount of $36,000 per year to assist the village in securing grants from June 1st, 2023 through May 31st, 2024. And be it further resolved, the mayor and administrator are authorized to sign any documents necessary to accomplish the purposes of this resolution.
Any comments? Well, Chris, actually, I should ask you.
Yeah.
We have a right, if I recall correctly, to basically end this contract on 30 days' notice?
That's correct.
Okay, and we pay by the month?
We pay monthly.
Okay.
Oh.
Any comments?
No.
From the board?
No, we have a lot in the hopper, so I think it's a good idea to keep it going. Hopefully, we'll get some more wins.
And if Susan thinks it's good to spend money, it is good to spend money. What's that? I'm sorry, motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second. Are you insinuating?
Not a thing. Greg?
Trustee Epstein,
Yes.
Trustee Fisher,
Yes.
Trustee Morlino,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Heiser.
Yes. Resolution number 4, considering approval of a waiver for Keenan Bean for a potential conflict of interest with the Portchester School District.
Whereas the Portchester School District has requested the Village of Rye Brook consider providing a school resource officer to the middle school and high school, which are both located within Rye Brook. And whereas an IMA is needed to consider this request for an SRO, or a school resource officer. And whereas Keenan Bean represents both the Portchester School District and the Village of Rye Brook and would typically review such intermunicipal agreements for both agencies. Since Keenan Bean represents both the school and the village, an acknowledgement and waiver of the potential conflict of interest is needed for Keenan Bean to review and suggest language for the IMA. Now therefore be it resolved that the Village of Rye Brook Board of Trustees hereby acknowledges and approves the waiver of any potential conflict of interest so that Keenan Bean can review, draft, and modify an IMA between Rye Brook and the Portchester School District to consider the village providing a school resource officer to the Portchester School District. And be it further resolved, the mayor and administrator are authorized to approve and sign any waiver prepared by Keenan Bean for this purpose.
Can I get a motion and a second?
So moved. So, we're negotiating this, or we're not?
Need a
Should
second.
get a
Oh,
second.
sorry, second.
Chris, you want to
Sure.
amplify?
So as you know, there's been discussions for the past year or so on about the potential for providing a school resource officer. So in order to move this forward, there's a need for Keenan Bean to get involved and have those discussions between the two agencies, and Keenan Bean represents both parties. So in order to engage that conversation with Keenan Bean, we need a waiver in order to use our in-house counsel. So you're not approving any agreements tonight.
Right, I understand. We're approving the right to have an in-house counsel.
To have to be able to consult with counsel and potentially draft like an outline and a consideration of an IMA with what terms
So
all
they're
through.
working both
Correct, to help
sides.
draft
Is
the
that a
documents
conflict,
representing.
No, that's why we're.
That's why we're asking.
That's why you're asking for a waiver.
I know that's why you're asking for a waiver, but
I'll
my
say that
point
there's there's potential for it, which is why you need a waiver. Otherwise, you'd have to hire outside counsel.
I understand.
Right, so this is
But if
completely
I didn't know
voluntary
that we
with
were
you
voting
folks.
on moving forward, so why would we give them a waiver if we don't know if we're moving forward?
Because we're at the point where we're in need of counsel's assistance to kind of outline the need for an IMA. Portchester has provided a rough draft IMA, and we can't really go through that in much detail without counsel, and that's a problem.
Ralph, is Keenan Bean building what used to be called a Chinese wall to maintain? No, seriously, that's what it was called.
So what we can do is we have one attorney, Stephanie Roebuck, in the office who is working with Portchester on this issue. And we will have, whether it's myself or Stephanie Burns in the office, handle it on behalf of Rye Brook. And whichever one of us handle it on behalf of Rye Brook will not be consulting with Stephanie Roebuck on this particular issue.
Any other comments, questions?
And this is completely voluntary with you folks. I don't want you to feel pressured in any way to do this. This is up to you for your convenience. From time to time, we have clients under these kinds of circumstances who, for efficiency purposes, want us to handle this kind of situation. Other times, clients want to either handle it on their own or get outside counsel, and we're happy to do and proceed however you want in this kind of circumstance. We don't want you to
And I would
feel
add, and if I- sorry,
pressured in any way.
And I would add, there's not like a time pressure right now for this meeting. So if the board wanted to talk in executive session about any potential concerns legally without council present, then we could always do that as well. So if you're not comfortable and you have questions you want us to follow up on, we could, or you could act on it tonight if you are comfortable.
Speaking only for myself, I've known lots of law firms that do exactly what Ralph has described.
Yeah, I'm fine with it too.
Any other questions, comments?
No, Chris, this is resource officer. Do they have one in the school now?
No, this would be
Something new?
this would be something which we've discussed. Yeah, this is the school is looking to consider, and they're still considering, just like we're considering, the possibility of having a school resource officer that would be shared between the buildings that are located in Rye Brook. Similarly, there's other discussions going on in Portchester with the schools that are in Portchester. So in order to continue to have those discussions, we're at that point now where, some of the terms and all need to be further refined with council.
So, and a resource officer, you mean a police officer?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Which would be an additional person that would have to be
Stay at the school?
appointed and stay at the schools during the day.
And the fee, who pays for
That's what we're talking about.
who's going to pay for it?
There would have to be a reimbursement. There would have to be a fee that would cover our costs for
Oh,
that
all
school
right,
resource
so-
officer.
What's, once we get reimbursed, I don't see any issues with it.
We're not discussing that, we're discussing whether or not.
Yeah, but we're going to get reimbursed.
Greg, do you want to add anything, or is that pretty much summarized? Okay.
We just can't move forward with any types of talk until we,
Yeah.
I don't want to make having discussions with the school unless I get consult with Ralph about the things that we talk about.
I don't see any reason why. I think it's,
It wouldn't be before you if we didn't recommend it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, I don't think the board has fully done it, but I have no problem having our council do it, so I'm willing to move forward on that. I don't really think that we should have negotiations yet until the board discusses it further.
Okay. Sure, we can have a session.
I don't want to incur additional
We can have a
costs,
session
right.
before the next meeting where we can go into whatever detail the board would like.
Okay.
And again, this is all in, nothing's decided at this point. This is
Right.
just so we can continue the process of moving it forward. Is that correct, Greg?
We got to a point where we can bring something to the board to discuss.
Right, I know, so it's a triangle.
Yeah.
I understand, but I'm trying not to have our fees go up.
No, absolutely. We understand that.
Or
We
okay.
understand that.
Right now, we're discussing the procedure.
I
not-
totally understand, which is why I said that,
Yes.
right.
Okay.
I got it,
Okay. Greg?
Trustee Epstein.
yes.
Trustee Fisher.
Yes.
Trustee Morlino.
yes.
Deputy Mayor Heiser.
Yes. Resolution number 5, considering accepting add alternates A and B and a contract amendment to bid number 23-05, paving for Village of Rye Brook streets.
Whereas on May 25th, 2023, the Board of Trustees approved bid 23-05, paving for Village of Rye Brook streets, and whereas bid 2305 included add alternate options A and B that allows for mutual extensions of the bid award as well as asphalt cost escalations based on New York State escalation costs, and whereas alternate A allows for the contract pricing for an additional fiscal year from June 1st, 2024 to May 31st, 2025, and whereas alternate B allows for contract pricing for an additional year beginning June 1st, 2025 to 26. Now therefore be it resolved that the Village of Rye Brook Board of Trustees hereby approves alternates A and B for contract agreement 23-05 paving for Rye Brook streets, along with an amendment of the contract language as previously as prepared by council, which will allow both the village and the award contractor to mutually accept the contract extensions at a later date.
Can I get a motion in a second, please?
Second.
Chris, you want to explain?
Sure. If you remember, we had a discussion when we approved the bid last time, and we said we want a little bit more time to go through A and B, which were the add alternates in the bid, which basically is an extension for 2 additional years, 1 year and then an extension for an additional year. It's a mutual extension, so it's one that would have to be approved by both parties in order to accept the next year. So the trick in all of this is there's escalation factors in there. So there's New York State escalation costs that have to be factored in because the price of asphalt and binder, that all changes on a daily basis, Michael? Weekly basis. So there's changes and moving parts there. So if things align and the costs are reasonable on the escalation for both parties, then this would allow us to work off the current bid with whatever escalation costs up or down that occur over time. And then there would be a mutual option to extend it for an additional year, and then a mutual option to extend it for a second additional year.
So if the escalation is so much higher
Then
than
we
we anticipate, then we just don't move forward.
You don't
Is
have
that
to
the
move-
point?
you don't have to
So we
move
really
forward.
have nothing to lose here.
Correct.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments? Greg?
Trustee Epstein?
Yeah.
Trustee Fisher?
Yes.
Trustee Morlino,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Heiser?
Yes. Resolution number 6, considering appointing an inspector to oversee bid contract agreement number 23-05, paving for Village of Rye Brook streets.
Whereas on May 25th, the Village of Rye Brook Board of Trustees approved Contract 2305 paving, and whereas the Superintendent of Public Works recommended the appointment of an inspector to oversee this contract to ensure the contract is being performed in accordance with the bid specifications and agreed upon terms, and whereas the Superintendent of Public Works received a proposal from 929 Construction Services of Beacon, New York for an hourly rate of $95 to oversee the work performed in the bid, and whereas the Village of Rye Brook seeks to accept the proposal for 929 Construction Services, to therefore be it resolved that the Village of Rye Brook hereby appoints 921 Construction Services of Beacon, New York at an hourly rate of $95 an hour in accordance with the May 2023 proposal received by the Superintendent of Public Works.
Can I get a motion and a second, please?
Second.
Chris?
Sure, this is, Michael's amazing, but Michael only has so many hours in a day. So this is during the paving process, which takes a few weeks. This is somebody that would be providing inspection services on site for the village, representing the Village of Rye Brook. This is something we've done in the past. In the past, we've used people from Dolph Roadfeld Engineering or AI. They don't have anybody available now, so we need somebody else to provide some of those inspection services. Is that
So-
correct, Michael?
Maybe we could have an add-on proposal to give Michael more hours in the day?
There you go.
You seem to be limited by that 24 number.
Do we have an estimate of how long it will be? I see a scope of work here, but that does not help me.
For that, we're punting to Michael.
Sorry, I don't know if you heard me, making sure.
So, good evening, members of the board. We have approximately 4,000 tons of blacktop. Our contract is almost $1 million. You're looking at probably a couple of weeks to mill and pave because these are not easy roads. They're all cul-de-sacs. A lot of them are in the back part of Pine Ridge, which are tight. So they can't necessarily use tractor trailers and flow boys to haul large loads of material, so they're going to be triaxles, much smaller trucks. So it's going to take a little bit longer than normal, but I'm meeting with the contractor tomorrow. I'm thinking probably 3 to 4 weeks, potentially, depending on the weather, plus or minus.
Right, but I meant the person that you're hiring. They have to be there all the time that they're doing the work?
They will be there the whole time.
Wow.
Yep, inspecting the milling, the paving, making sure everything's adjusted how it should be, how it meets up with driveways, make sure they don't miss a curb cut, make sure a leader drain is opened. So that's going to be the eyes and ears for me out in the field. And Jim Statini is the principal of the company. He's got over 30 years of highway superintendent experience with Westchester County. And working with him is Mr. Johnson, who has also over 30 years with Mount Pleasant.
So they're going to be
something
on,
this is something that's necessary anytime you do any kind of large paving project, and it's something we've always had on site as well to make
so
sure.
somebody's always been there watching
Correct.
it.
Yeah.
Wow. So do we have an estimate of the cost? We said 3 to 4 weeks,
Once
but
I meet with the contractor, I'll have a better idea. Okay, it's not as critical for the milling and the
right.
aspect of it. But
Exactly.
once they start paving, that's the more critical part. So I'll know better tomorrow. So I can email
Okay.
Mr. Bradbury and give him a heads up. He could relay that to the board once I know what their time frame is.
Okay, right.
I'm trying to imagine what that quantity of blacktop looks like, and where does one store it?
So make a left turn onto Jennifer.
Okay.
Not Jennifer, onto Jennifer, the whole back area, Deer Run, portion of Betsy Brown, and West Ridge. Not West Ridge, was it the Brook? sideway. That's roughly 3,800 tons of blacktop.
I'm envisioning mountains of blacktop.
Yes.
So, just to ask another question, we used a different process on some of the roads last year. How are those faring?
We did pavement preservation on a number of the roads. They're holding up. The cat is still not out of the bag. I'm still looking at it. I'm still evaluating them. It's a different product. It's a different technique, so it's a different expectations. But for the most part, they actually held up pretty well. North Ridge Street, the two areas that we did is holding up phenomenal. Country Ridge area is holding up. One or two spots have had a little issues that we're going to have to patch up and fix. But for the most part, it's a balancing act. It's not 100% like mill and pave.
Right, so those are way past their prime. That's why we're milling
These
and
are all
paving.
way past their prime, and there's no way to come in there with 3 tractor trailers and go down a little cul-de-sac that's 80 feet wide, make a turn. It's just impossible
Right.
up in that area.
So are the residents advised of what's going to happen and when?
Once I meet with the contractor and have a set date and time, we're going to do something on the internet. We'll do social media. We'll do as many things as we can in a reasonable amount of time to give them a heads up.
Great.
But it's going to be tight. It will be tight. I'm not going to lie.
Right. Okay, so as long as we minimize the amounts of hours, I'm okay with it. In other words, I don't think anybody should be there for milling. I'm sure they can handle that.
We'll figure that out, and I'll give an estimate to Mr. Bradbury, and we'll see where we're at.
Terrific. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments?
No.
Greg?
Trustee Epstein?
Yes.
Trustee Fisher?
Yes.
Trustee Morlino,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Heiser?
Yes. Resolution number 7, considering various budget transfers for fiscal year 2022 to 2023.
Okay, so now therefore be resolved that the following 22-23 year-end budget transfers be hereby approved. And there's a whole series of just accounts and transfers to, again, this is a follow-up from last meeting to close out accounts within, so our books are balanced by the end of the year. When you need, if you have a shortage in one account, it needs to go to the other account. So unless the board wants me to, it's available online, it's available in our backup. So unless the board wants me to read through each one,
Sure, saved a lot.
$100 on each, a couple $100 on each one,
Yeah,
let me know.
spend it over
I
there.
would beg you not to do that.
Thank you.
We've already reached unanimity. Can I get a motion and a second, please?
So moved.
Second.
Any questions or comments? Please, no questions or comments. Greg?
Trustee Epstein?
Yes.
Trustee Fisher?
Yes.
Trustee Morlino,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Heiser?
Yes. Resolution number 8, considering budget transfer, reallocation, and closing of capital project account in fiscal year 2023 to 2024.
Now therefore be resolved that the following transfer between capital projects be approved in the current fiscal year, and that's from IT upgrade scan Laserfiche to police department scanning in the amount of $9,093.11. And then also that the following capital project be closed and removed, and that's closing out that IT upgrade scan and Laserfiche project.
Can I get a motion and a second?
So moved.
Second? Any-
Second.
I'm letting him.
Okay. As long as we know who to blame.
So this is basically taking the balance of the funds from one IT Laserfiche project and moving it into the police department scanning. We have a capital project already for that. And for this year, and this adds another $9,000 towards police department scanning of documents.
And I assume this is just a bookkeeping transfer that.
It's important to the auditors to close out accounts.
Otherwise,
what
the
it
world
is.
would come to an end.
Yes,
I understand completely.
the
Any
auditors
questions or
want capital
comments?
projects closed.
Greg?
Trustee Epstein?
Yes.
Trustee Fisher?
Yes.
Trustee Morlino,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Heiser?
Yes. Resolution number 9, considering various modifications to the license and fee schedule.
Whereas the superintendent of Parks and Recreation has proposed summer kayaking lessons for a series for interested adults, and whereas kayaking lessons would take place on July 21st, 28th, August 4th, and August 18th from 6:30 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. at Rye Town Park, with a minimum of 4 participants and a maximum of 10. And whereas the Superintendent of Parks and Recreation proposed a fee of $300 per person be established for the kayaking lessons, now therefore be resolved that the Village of Rye Brook hereby approves modifying the license and fee schedule by adding the following program, and it's the kayaking lesson series for the amount of $300 for 4 sessions. And be it further resolved, the fee schedule is further modified. There's a change in fee for Grit Ninja, which is a new program for $310 per session. Pickleball, we've actually going to a more monthly permit versus our old system of basically seat by season, because everyone's just doing pickleball all year now. And Snapology for instead of 200, it's 160. They're finding to be more appropriate.
Can I get a motion and a second?
Motion.
Second.
I have 2 questions. One, what is Grit Ninja?
I can't help you there.
It is a company I know because we've been speaking with Bart about this. That's what they name themselves.
I understand, but we have a fee of $310 per session. What is Grit Ninja that people are paying $310 per session?
Come on, Greg, can you help us here? I honestly don't know.
Okay.
I could tell you that. So the more interesting part of this one is the Rec Council was very interested in having the superintendent outreach for coming up with kayaking lessons. So people, I guess, are into that. It's the summer, so they asked him to look and see what programs were out there. So he was able to come up with a local program. Right now, it's for adults. There was a question whether it could be done for children too, or young adults. But right now we want to start with the adult program. We want to see how it goes, see if there's interest, and then we can look and build off that. But this is kind of the first entry into that type of program.
And I assume whoever runs that program will supply the kayaks?
Yes.
Grit Ninja is Ninja Warrior style obstacle course based fitness.
I assume for children?
But adults too.
Okay.
You can do it.
No. Let's not get carried away.
Maybe
Otherwise,
they'll
I'll
give
be
you a
carried
discount.
away. And my other question, and I know this has been asked before, what is Snapology?
Once again, I can't help you.
Legos. I think they have a thing right out here on it. It looks like it's Legos, snapping Legos together. There's a exhibit or not, something right out here.
Yeah, I think they're changing the exhibit right now, but yeah.
Oh, looks like Legos. So, look, David, this could be you.
No, it couldn't be me. My body doesn't move in those
Absolutely,
directions.
yes.
Okay, any other questions or comments? Greg?
Trustee Epstein.
Yes.
Trustee Fisher.
Yes.
Trustee Morlino.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Heiser.
I'm voting yes, even though I have no idea what I'm voting on.
Look, it's Legos
And Grit Ninja.
robotics.
Okay.
Legos and robotics. Perfect.
Okay, I will take
Sounds
your word
good.
for it. Resolution number 10, considering reappointing Bart Dinardo to the Emergency Medical Services Committee.
Whereas the IMA between Rye Brook, City of Rye, and Portchester for emergency medical services established the Emergency Medical Services Committee, and whereas pursuant to the IMA, it establishes a community representative from each of the participating municipalities to be proposed by the Corps and ratified by each of the municipalities, and whereas in a letter dated June 16th from Kenny Barton, Administrator, Bart Dinardo has been recommended for reappointment to the EMSC by the Corps as the community representative of the City of Rye, and whereas on June 14th, 2023, the City Council of the City of Rye ratified the appointment of Bart Dinardo to the EMSC, now therefore be resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby approves the reappointment of Bart Dinardo to the Emergency Medical Services Committee as the community representative for the City of Rye.
Can I get a motion and a second, please?
So moved.
Second.
Excellent. Chris?
Okay, so this is, he's a very active member of the EMSC. I happen to be the chair of that committee, full disclosure, and, we meet at least quarterly, if not more. Recently, it's been more, and, it's very important to have community representatives. And in Rye Brook's case, our community representative is Mike Borelli. So definitely recommend reappointing Bart Dinardo.
Any questions or comments?
No.
Greg?
Trustee Epstein.
We appreciate his work and also yours, Chris. Yes.
Thank you.
Trustee Fisher.
Yes.
Trustee Morlino.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Heiser.
Yes. Resolution number 11, considering accepting various household items as a donation.
Okay, whereas Paul Groglio of 34 Elizabeth Street in Rye seeks to donate various household items in memory of deceased brother Michael Groglio, and whereas the household items have a total estimated value of $5,000, and whereas the Board of Trustees, acting as the Board of Directors of the Friends of Rye Brook, is interested in accepting the following various household items as donations, and there's a wheelbarrow, warming drawers, large box freezer, stand-up warmers, big snapper refrigerator, small refrigerator, regular refrigeration, 2 metal trays, portable cement mixer, salamander heater. David, don't ask what that is,
I won't,
because I don't know.
promise.
10 folding chairs, full other tables, job boxes with extension cords and other supplies, garbage cans, outside music equipment, 2 generators, 4 sawhorses, 2 hand carts, 2 dollies, a speed spreader, and a chainsaw.
I think that's a seed spreader, not a speed spreader.
Seed spreader.
So generous. That's
Yeah.
so kind.
Yes.
And this is the same family that donated the hot dog stand. to
truck.
the
Yeah,
village.
hot dog stand, right? Yeah.
Wow.
The hot dog
So nice.
stand truck was just fabulous. That was great. Can I get a motion in a second, please?
So moved.
Second.
And we did go over and make sure these are items that we'd have value for and use for. So we did do that to make sure. And
Right,
our
we're not just
highway
giving it.
department was interested in all those items.
Great.
Yes, thank you very much to the Groglio family. It's
Yes.
just extremely nice of you to do
Thank
this.
you.
Thank you.
So kind.
Sorry for your loss.
Any questions or comments? Greg?
Trustee Epstein?
Yes.
Trustee Fisher?
Yes.
Trustee Morlino,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Heiser?
Yes. Resolution number 12, considering approval of the minutes for the meeting held on March 14th, 2023.
Now therefore be resolved that the Village of Rye Brook Board of Trustees approves the minutes for the meeting held on March 14th, 2023.
Can I get a motion in a second?
Motion.
Second.
Any questions or comments? Hearing none, can we approve this unanimously?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
There you go.
Chris, it's up to you now, administrator's
All right.
report.
And I should mention on the donation one, I see I forgot to read the last 2 resolve clauses, which were simply saying that we accept the donation in the amount on behalf of the Friends of Rye Brook and in the estimated value of $5,000, and that we can sign any documents. So just for full disclosure. Okay, just have a few items I want to highlight. First is Wednesday's Music in the Park is moved from Wednesday to Thursday at 7 p.m. And that is the Russ Davis Band. So we're expecting we're looking forward to that, and we're looking forward to better weather than there would have been on the original day of tomorrow. Wednesday, the weather doesn't look good. Thursday looks much better. So we're fingers crossed, and we're hoping for a much better day for a Music in the Park event. It's the first of our series that Trustee Epstein has organized, and thank you for all your hard work. And those are very successful programs with a great turnout, so we're very excited about it. And before that, we also have a thank you to our volunteer boards, commissions, and committee members, where we're going to have a ice cream Sunday social for them starting at 5:45 prior to the event. So thanking them for all the dedication and volunteering from them, as well as they can bring their family members for free ice cream, which is very nice.
So Thursday will be Sunday.
Thursday will be Sunday. Yeah, Thursday is Sunday
Okay.
at Carvel, right? The other item is the leaf blower ban that's going in for the seasonal ban, and we now have the form for the extension or exemption is completed, and Greg has reached out to all the known properties, 5 acres or more, just to let them know of the availability of that. Of the form to be able to apply to the village board to seek a potential extension or exemption. That form is also on our website, so if anybody's interested, they could go to that and see the terms and what they would have to fill in to be able to provide the information for the village board's consideration. We want to get that out now because in the event the decision is made to either grant, deny, or somewhere in between, we want to provide enough time for these larger properties to be able to make plans for next year, depending on what that decision is. So that's why we wanted to really kind of push to get that done now. Other good news, so we had our fiscal year end 2023. Pleased to say that our mortgage tax and sales tax receipts have exceeded our budget estimates, so we're very happy about that. So we're very pleased with that. Those are kind of some wild cards out there now with interest rates changing and sales tax on what people are purchasing. So we're very pleased always to see that happen. And, you know, we've been really good on that in recent years, but we're pleased to see those numbers coming in. I want to thank Rob Bertolacci, the Parks and Public Works staff, and everyone that was involved, all the people that participated, all the volunteer boards, commissions, committees that came out, the village board support. We had a great turnout for our Rye Brook birthday. So I thought it was really a great day, a great event. We're glad the weather turned, and it turned out to be a beautiful day. And I know it was a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun, and it was a lot of fun for everyone. So thanks, everybody, for all the hard work. Ice Cream Fridays start next Friday. I can't believe it's July already, this weekend, but it starts next Friday, July 7th, and that's going to continue every Friday through the end of July. That goes from 6 to 7:30 at Pine Ridge Park. Also, next Friday, July 7th, is our first movie in the park, which is Lightyear, I guess Buzz Lightyear, one of those movies at 8:15 in Pine Ridge Park. And lastly, I just wanted to give an update on the National Resource Conservation Service program on Brook Lane. So we've had a lot of dialogue, a lot of work's been going in with the federal government, which is a slow process, admittedly. And the federal government has approved the project, approved the budget, and the federal government approved Brook Lane, and they're going to open it up to some of the properties on Wyman Street and Rock Ridge as potentially as eligible. And those projects, they've currently, we have 12 applications in right now. It could be expanded by a few more in the coming months. But in short, the project, again, we talked about in the past, has switched from the floodplain program to a recovery program, which has the same end result, but it's faster. It'll start to pick up speed now, which is better because the village is more coordinating more of the effort now through this particular program. So that's the good news, but the downside is it's still a slow process. And you know, for the people that experience flooding, it's hard to wait. This, you know, we said right from the beginning, it's takes several years, and it's going to take every bit of that right now. So the next step in the process is the Federal Office of the National Resource Conservation Service, so the NRCS, is transferring the funds to the state office, where they'd be able to advance funds. And the next step for the village is the village board, probably at the next meeting, will have to consider a revised agreement once we receive it. And there'll be an agreement to basically what our commitments are going to be in terms of doing the coordination and putting out the work for getting an appraiser. I already have an RFP drafted for the appraisal company to reach out for appraisal firms. And so we get an appraiser in place, we get an agreement in place, we get an appraisal company in place. They go out, we'll get appraisals for the properties, and then we'll be able to make offers to the properties based on those appraisals. So that's kind of the step-by-step process right now. And then the owners of those properties will have a decision to make, because it's not a negotiation the way it's set up. We have to use the spec for the appraisal from the federal government, and whatever that value is, the homeowner will then have a decision to make whether to continue and participate and sign their own agreement, or to say, no, we're not interested. So that's kind of where we are in that process.
So they're assigning somebody to evaluate it, or
No, we have to
find a
we have to hire an appraisal company that'll use the specifications of from the federal government.
Okay.
And I have the RFP drafted already, just waiting, but I can't issue it until we get
Great.
the funding and the agreement.
Right. So that seems like a very fair way to do it.
Yes.
I would just like to echo what Chris said, thanking all the village employees who made Rye Brook Day so successful.
yeah.
It really was a great event. The weather turned out to be perfect. We had a huge number of people there. Everybody seemed to have a good time. We almost finished all the cake,
We did finish all that. The cake was gone.
which means probably the village gained a few pounds that day.
The kids certainly
Hopefully
did.
they're doing all that grit ninja thing, you know, and they'll lose all that weight.
Right.
And the other, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
The other thing I want to do is comment that Trustee Epstein has really worked very hard about this music in the park. So I urge everybody to please try to come out this Thursday, 7 p.m., to the event. They're always great. And as I say, Trustee Epstein really puts her heart and soul into these things. And there's no point in her doing it if we don't show appreciation by coming out there.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor
Whatever,
Whatever.
whatever.
I appreciate the kudos, but thank you. But I also want to give my thanks to the entire village staff because I thought that the birthday party was spectacular, and I very much would like that to be a springboard for the music in the park. So thank you so much, and for your appreciation, all of you, and your support. I could not do it without you, Greg and Chris. Also, really appreciate it.
Great job.
And finally, I'd like to wish everybody a very happy and safe July 4th weekend. The village offices will be closed on Tuesday, July 4th. We will be open for at least part of the day, if not all the day, on Monday, July 3rd.
Ask if there's any public comment.
Yeah.
Yes. Are there any public comments?
Anything at all. At the end of the meeting, there's an opportunity for anyone to talk on any items not on the agenda.
Although you're dressed rather informally for such an austere meeting.
I apologize.
Just make sure it doesn't happen again.
Thank you very much. And this was,
Unless it's on your boat, our next meeting.
my name is Ruben Tornini. Good evening. My parents, Ruben and Anna Tornini, have been residents and taxpayers at 22 Brook Lane. I think you know my mom. Since January of 1989, 34 years. I live in Oklahoma City. I'm coming in to help pack up. She retires Friday, and they're moving to Myrtle Beach. The reason I'm here tonight is because this issue with the houses on Brook Lane, it's put their retirement at stake. They were counting on the equity in the home as their financial plan. The house is worthless right now. There are offers out there, and there's some houses that have gone for sale, but there's no buyers. So the reason I was coming, and I'm glad to hear the news, was to ask the trustees to please provide any resources you can to facilitate a rapid movement on any programs in place. So that's basically it. I know, Chris, Administrator Barrett, you've been working very hard on this, and I appreciate it. But I know if there's anything in the way, please let these residents know. We can help.
Sure.
Too.
There's a couple of things, if you don't mind. The one is just, so the value that will be ultimately part of the appraisal is, just want to make it clear, it's value the day before Hurricane Ida. So that value that the appraisal company would have to use is the value pre-storm.
Huge.
So that's a big
Huge,
difference. So
yes.
yeah. So just be aware of that.
Yes.
But the one thing I always want to do is I don't like to tell people and not follow through on it. So I want to make sure I always set expectations. So the unfortunate news is it does take a few years for this program to get from beginning to end. And, you know, despite what anybody's going to tell you, I'm never going to tell you anything other than that. So I want to be
assure you
upfront.
this,
Yeah.
In the last month and a half, I've done a lot of research.
Mhm.
I've spoken to every resident on the street that's in the program, minus one. I can't find one. Some people are angry. Some people are confused. Some people are scared.
Yeah.
It is what it is. But I think that the village has a duty to facilitate anything they can
Yeah.
do. And I realize dealing with the federal government is very difficult in these programs. But it appears to me that the program that you're now on cuts a lot of the red tape of the federal government out and puts the
It
onus
does.
on the village.
It
That's a
does.
huge
That's why we
plus.
wanted it.
So the reason I wanted to come tonight was because I wanted to meet you face to face so that when we converse in the future, my parents don't speak very good English. Well enough, my mom, but my dad doesn't. He came to the United States in 1960 legally, I might add, and but his English is not good. So I will speak on their behalf over the next, however long it takes.
You know, we're the only community in this whole region of the state that's doing that, and we're proud of this program. But we also want to make, the reason we're doing it is because we saw the devastation that happened on Brook Lane, and we want to do something to make a difference in those people's lives. Remove the hazard, which is in this case the home that's endangering both the people that are there during storms as well as the people that have had an occasion where they have to rescue them. So it makes sense for those that want to consider it. And for those that don't want to consider it, there's going to other programs we're looking to do that would help them as well.
Well, you show us where we have to sign, we're in. So.
Okay.
Right. You should know Chris is amazing, and he has really shepherded this from the very beginning and everything that he has done because he wants to make the residents' lives better.
I was going to
So
say,
thank you.
if it's not obvious, Chris always, always, always works in the best interests of our residents.
I agree. I didn't come to chastise Chris.
I don't take it that way.
I came to say to the rest of you.
We would ask you to take a number if you did.
I know the request for the.
I'm right with you. I agree.
solicitation
Yep.
request is difficult, and the bids are difficult, and getting the cooperative agreement signed by council or approved by council will be difficult, and so, anything that the rest of the trustees can do to make that easier than, 12 or 18 months or 2 years, and if we knock a month off here, a month off there, that would be great.
Agreed.
They'll have to rent the house, unfortunately. And one last thing I'll leave you with, which I'd like to request that those in charge of the tax assessments look at see what the value of those homes is. It's not fair market value anymore. So the houses are worth as much with a piece of cardboard on it than they are with the buildings they're on now. So anyway, I don't know who's involved with that, but
That's
Not
good.
us.
Not us.
Not us
It's
is the
actually
answer.
county,
town of Rye.
Town of Rye. That's my next stop prior to go back to Oklahoma City Friday. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Safe travels.
Yes. Our next meetings will be on July 11th and July 25th. I assure you that sanity will prevail because Mayor Klein will be back in charge. And with that, can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved. Well done.
Second.
July 11th.
Unanimous.